Prynn is the head cultivator, a follower of a nature god known as Yolashti, and he's taken you to his little cottage that's nearby the Prynn flowers, the Prynn fields, and you can see out the back of his house he had a bunch of sort of trials set up for us to undergo, so that he can see if we are dexterous enough and if we are light on our feet enough and intelligent enough and a whole bunch of other things to do this correctly. What do the Prynn flowers look like? That is a good question. It's sort of a cross between a tulip and a rose, and at this stage of the development, they are sort of a lilac slash pink. I'll give you the description. It starts the Prynn flower starts as a small white bud. The bud goes through the color spectrum. This is in character as well. You can Githrin as he gathers you all. Sort of starts to describe to you what the process of the Prynn flower is. A lot of the people present already know because they've lived their life in Dolbyn-Iluade. But for your benefit and a couple of others, he explains that the Prynn flower starts as a small white bud. The bud goes through the colour spectrum, all the way through the colour spectrum, ending at a light violet the night before the full moon. And then on the morning it flushes hot pink. And then it fades to a light pink over the course of that day, and at nightfall, the bud blooms out into 4 sepals, hiding 8 petals underneath it. Sorry, that's during the day. So during the day, the bud is blooming into 4 sepals and 8 petals, and then by the night of the full moon, the petals are bright white, and the stamen is glowing faintly golden. It superficially resembles a tulip or a rose, and it has a long, thin stalk and very sparse leaves. He explains all of this to you as you go, and he's got some pictures that he shows you as well. He explains the different cycles, and he takes you across to the edge of the field and shows you that they are currently in the stage of the night before. Effectively, the bud is still tightly closed, and the 4 sepals are closed around the petals, holding it all tight. But you can see through the sepals, the sepals themselves, and also you can see like just the flushes of the petals on the tops of the sepals. You can see that sort of faint tulip, the faint lilac colour. So this is the day before. So as of this evening, they will go into a light violet colour, and then tomorrow morning they'll be hot pink, and then they start to bloom, and then tomorrow night they'll be bright white. So he explains further that during the process, you take every part of it. They try to use every part of the flower. They first harvest the sepals or the sepals, depending on whether you're American or English. They harvest the leaves come first. So you harvest the leaves from the plants. That's at the time that the bloom starts to first flower out, so that can be done during the day. And then the sepals, once the petals are completely visible, you take the sepals off, and they can be used in a different. He doesn't go into what they're used for yet, but he says that each of the things are used in different elements of potion making and alchemy. Once the petals are completely open and the stamen is visible, and the stamen is glowing faintly white, he says there's a particular time of night that you just kind of have to feel out, and he's used to it over many decades of doing this, that you take the petals at that point, and then towards the end of the night, like towards morning, you take the rest of the head, the stamen and everything, and then the right before morning light, you want to take the stalks, and you take everything except the roots, and then the roots over the course of the next month grow another flower. So there's very particular times of night that you need to, times of day and night that you need to harvest each individual part of the flower, and hence you need to be particular about when you're harvesting and who you're getting along for the harvest, so that they're harvesting the right time for each one. Otherwise, you're not getting the most out of the magic potential within the leaves and things. So it's a tricky little job, but he's going to try his best to train you up over the course of tonight, the rest of today and tonight, to get to the point where he can at least get a semblance of some stocks back by tomorrow, for the next month, this coming month. About the same size as a tulip or rose, yes. No, all good, Edger. Don't worry about it. What happens to a prynne flower after the night of a full moon? Does it start dying? Does it vibe until the next month? So if you do not pluck it during the full moon, it starts to wither over the course of the next 2 days. So the next day you can still harvest it the day after a full moon at each of those particular times, but all of the magic will be a lot less potent. And the day after that, there's no magic in it. It becomes a mundane flower. And the day after that, it will have wilted away entirely. It'll just be wilted and withered and like a dry husk. And then the next month won't be as potent because it has to then grow against dead material first before it can break through into its own thing. So pruning it back entirely to the roots actually helps the next flower to be more potent. It's a good thing these elves don't need sleep. That's correct. The moon is always up at night. Yeah, so on the night of a full moon, it'll be up for the most part. It's the magic is most potent as well when the night is clear, and on nights when you can see the full moon for the longest time. So there are certain times when they know that a particular harvest is going to be specifically important. He hasn't mentioned anything about like, oh, and this was the most important night as well because there's a full moon for longer or blah blah blah. This is just a regular full moon, I guess, and he's expecting weather to be adequate. How many flowers and fields have they got to harvest in a single night? It's one. I suppose you could argue it's 2 fields. It's one large field, but it's thousands of flowers. Potentially around 1,000 or so. Thankfully, you won't be the only one doing it. Most of the town pitches in because this is their primary source of economy. So, what we need to do is we need to start the trials effectively. So what he says is, as you can tell, it's quite a tricky little operation that we run here. That's why it takes years and years, entire lifetimes of dedication to cultivate the flowers into what we need them to be, and it's why we can create such potent salves as to heal bones and seep right down into the muscles. You saw for yourself how badly Kaylin's legs were damaged, and the very next day she was walking again because of the salves that were cultivated from the Prynns. So unfortunately, it's quite a delicate operation that we run. So I do have to put you through some trials just to gauge your level of ability to help. Even if don't stress or strain if you're not up to the task, it's perfectly fine. I can still utilize you. You're still a willing pair of hands, and that's fine. There's plenty to do around on the night. There's sorting, and there's moving boxes and things. There's manual labor that needs to be done that I'm sure I'll be able to find a use for you. It's just I need the most dexterous people to be out in the fields. Not only that, but the most perceptive among you as well. I have need for you to be able to spot when each individual flower starts to bloom. Unfortunately, they don't all do it simultaneously. That would be very useful. But they do not do it all simultaneously. You need to be able to stand at the side of a field and pick out when one of them starts to bloom, and then pick your way to it without crushing the others, and start to pluck it before the rest have gotten too far. As soon as the sepals have started to withdraw, you only have a matter of minutes to pluck the sepals from the flower. Otherwise, they lose their potency, which isn't the worst thing in the world. The sepals are useful for a very particular job, but they're not the most versatile. The petals are really where most of the magic lies. How's Apus's ribs doing at the moment? Just in RP, in Meta 2, are we at disadvantage? Yes, so in physical tasks, like anything manual labour-wise, if you are lifting anything heavy, you would be at disadvantage. So yes, your broken ribs would currently be giving you a disadvantage on physical tasks. Obstacle courses, potentially, depending on the obstacles. We did heal our ribs once, yes, Wraith, but it's not quite finished. I said that if we did it, if we cast Cure Wounds on our ribs every morning for a certain amount of time, it would speed up the process. So instead of taking the natural amount of time to heal, like i.e. weeks potentially, our Cure Wounds every morning would speed that process up, but it wouldn't do it in a day. How long does Zephyr Strike last again? It lasts for a minute or concentration. So you might drop concentration by accident or on purpose, but it lasts for 1 minute otherwise. I'm almost certain. Might be better on the day, yes. So tomorrow morning, if we cast Cure Wounds on ourselves again, then potentially it would we'd be fine before the night. That being said, the first trial is about how well you can pick out which of the flowers is blooming. If you'd like to stand over here, please. And he gestures over to the beginning of this obstacle course of sorts. We could, if we still have a spell slot, we can Cure Wounds ourselves before bed tonight, and that might help. That would definitely help, rather. He gets a box, a cardboard box, and he plonks it down, and in it are lots of rocks, tiny little rocks, each of them pretty much spherical, but river rocks, just smooth rocks. Each of them is painted with a different shade of purple, all around about the lilac kind of shade. But in amongst them, maybe one in every 20 or so, there are light hot pink rocks as well. And he's painted them all up, and he's got like 100 rocks in this box, and he sort of he kind of mixes them together and shows you like each of the rocks, and he says, okay, obviously these are representing the colours of the leaves that you'll be looking for. I'm going to head across there, and I'm going to start tipping them out, and I want each of you to in turn raise your hand when you think you've seen one of the pink ones, and point in the direction that you saw it. And this will help me to ascertain how sharp your eyes are for discerning colours, and at the moment that the sepals start to open. He walks across to the other end of this little cordoned off area that he's got, and he grabs a few handfuls of them, and then he just scatters them up and out into the air in this sort of shower of like a dozen different things. I need us, as Apis, to make a perception check. So we can see down there we are proficient in perception. For anyone who's joined, this is how this works. We are proficient in particular skills. These are our base skills: strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. So we take perception, which is a wisdom-based one, +2. But because we are proficient in it, we had to add another 2. So we take our roll and we add 4. Of course, that's already accounted for in the command. So we get a 9. We rolled a 9 plus 4. We get a 13. So we get ourselves ready, and we look. We instantly sort of realise to ourselves that as a dwarf we're at a bit of a disadvantage. The elves usually have a little bit of a keener eye. So he scatters these things in the air. We're pretty sure we've seen one, and as we stick our hand up to like show that we've seen it, and then gesture out in the direction, we also see another one off to the side. We point out in 2 directions, and then we kind of hazard a glance to either side, and you can see that there's the guy next to us is holding out 2 fingers as well. He's pointing to the 2 of them, and then a third one comes down, and he points to another one that we missed as it hits the ground. So there were a few in there a couple that we caught, but one that we missed. And he looks across the lot of you and sort of nods, and then he brings out another handful and scatters it into the air. I'm going to see it. It's like it's more of an average. Do we pass more than we fail? So with the next one, 23, we are not put off by the fact that as he throws them up in the air, the guy on our other side immediately just like points at something, and we're like thrown a little bit, but then he kind of he retracts his hand and you realize it's a false start, false alarm. We see one right before it hits the ground, though, and we point at it, and we look around and see that there were only 2 of us that actually caught this one. And he gestures and he sort of nods and looks around the group, and he's taking mental notes, it seems. And then he grabs the last of the rocks and he just scatters them up into the air. Last of the 3. See if we succeed more than we fail. Natural 1 on this one. So with this one, wait, perception? Did I do that right? Yeah, perception +4. Yeah, I doubted myself for one thing there. With this last one, we hear. Let's see. As we're looking, we get nudged by some guy who was over eager and like pointed at one of them before it was even like thrown in the air, and it kind of knocks us, and we turn to him to see that he was okay. And by the time we turn back, they've all hit the ground, and we missed them all that one. So he goes, oh, I'm so sorry, I thought I just saw one. And then he takes a step away from us to make sure. And Githrin looks around, and he looks down at the ones that landed, and he sort of nods, and then he gestures, and we all come over to the floor, and he starts to pick them back up again, and we all sort of pitch in and start to pick them up as well. He says, some very keen eyes among you. Yes, that's very useful. The guy off to our left goes, I'm sorry, and he goes, no, it's fine. As I say, we're not all suited for every job. This is about my way of working out what we are suited for. You're not out of the running yet. You won't be there to see if the sepals are turning, but we can use you in other ways. And he sort of takes him off to the side, and a couple of the others as well. 1 or 2 of the others, he kind of dismisses them as not the ones that are going to be watching out. But he says to us, I'm going to want you standing at the side of the field, if nothing else, then to check if the sepals are turning. Unfortunately, this is a bit of a 2-parter. It's one thing to know where the flowers are, it's another to get to them without trampling the others. The flowers by design are they're tightly compact. They grow more in potency if they can intermingle their roots. It's almost like the plants will talk to one another. They'll communicate. Their roots become a network, and so the closer you can plant them together, the better for the potency of the magic. But the harder it is to actually harvest them. So the next event is this one, and he points to his back, and you can see that there's basically a bunch of small logs. Each log is only about that round, just like hundreds of these logs that have been cut down into small chunks about yay high, and just like compacted up right next to each other. As you're now up against them and see this blanket of hundreds of logs, you can see that each of them has got like a cross on the top, just like in red. And then every so often there's a hot pink one that is pink, that is got like it's just been completely coloured in with hot pink. And he says, you can see, I'm sure, from here that there are certain ones that are the blooming flowers, and you need to be able to get to them without crushing any of the ones that are. And then he points out, and you can see that some of the flowers actually aren't red crosses, they are violet crosses. And he says, the ones that are the red crosses, you are able to step on those areas. They're the areas that we have specifically and strategically not planted in, so that we can use them as footholds and stepping stones through the fields. I will need you to get to each of these flowers in turn. I will call out a number. You will go to that number, and you wonder what he means, and you go and have a closer look, and you can see that in the middle of the pink painted top is a black number that's coloured in. He says, you will find the number. You will get yourself to the number quickly, and you will harvest it at that point. I will be watching to see if any of you step on any of the purple flowers. That's the ones that we do not wish for you to trample as you go. It'll be a difficult one, but I'm sure you'll manage your best. And again, this doesn't say anything against you if you fail. It just helps me to know which of you are most adept at helping me with this particular situation. What we need to do now is we are going to be making a. It's going to be a. Which one was it? Where did I write it? We've already trialed our perception, so from that I'm going to say that whenever he calls a number, we're able to very quickly find it, because we passed more than we failed with the trial. Mel is with us. Mel's flying around. She's close by. We can call her over if we need her for any reason, but she's not immediately in this circumstance. We've got a decent dex. We've got a glowy dex, which means that if we have to make a dexterity saving throw, we get to add another 2. It means that we're proficient in strength and dexterity saving throws. Why don't we get our bee companion to go around the flowers, see which is actually blooming and good to pick. It's a bee, so it should know. Yeah, absolutely, it's a good idea, Mystical Gun. So our bee companion could help us out. She could be an advantage on the perception checks on the day when it actually comes to being like picking out those flowers. She'll be able to help us potentially. So we're not actually picking flowers at the moment, Mr. Gulgun. So I'm not sure that Mel would be able to help us with the actual trial of the situation, but we can call her over just for moral support if we want. Call out the readied ones. Yeah, we should. We'll do it when it actually comes time to actually doing the harvest, I'm sure. We're trying to be cautious, not acrobatic. Yeah, we're not trying to do flips. All right, we're currently doing tests, but for the actual plants, Mel should be able to help, yes. So we line up, we watch, it's a one at a time trial, this one. We watch as one of the elves darts around. Prynn calls out numbers. This guy jumps from one log to another, trying to only land on the red ones. And as he gets to the number called, he just reaches down and touches it, and then another number's called, and he turns around, he scans, he sees where it is, he jumps across, boop, 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 and it's a time trial effectively. So he does relatively well, we think, and then he turns around and comes back. Eventually, it's our turn. We step up to the mark. He calls out a number. I don't need a perception check because we've already established that we were better than we were bad at perception. And so we find the number quickly. Now it's a matter of being able to get to it. So athletics seems, I mean, that's to do with jumping, but it seems like a dexterity-based athletics check. So it's going to be using our dexterity, but using our athletic ability to like spring and jump. We're not doing flips, we're not doing any tricksy things, so it's not acrobatics. It's more about pure power of boom. Can we use our athletic ability? So we are proficient in athletics, which means we get to add our proficiency modifier to our dexterity. So we're going to do an athletics check. It'll be an athletics check +1 effectively. So I will do so. It'll be whatever this skill is rolled +1. Skill athl. Here goes. All right. So first 17. He calls out a number. We look around. It's relatively close to us. Boom, boom, boom. We're there within three bounds. We are at it. We reach down. We touch it. He instantly calls out another number. We turn around. We see it immediately. It's pretty close by. We are going to go for it. I don't think I need another recap just yet. Twitch Tails. Thank you, Nightbot. Athletics, and that's a +1 as well, so that was an 18. That is a 5 + 4. That's a 9 total. This second one, we bound over to it. We touch it. We think we did well. We turn around. He calls another number out, and as we're about to bound away to it, we look down and realize we're standing on a purple one. He has noticed that as well. You don't know Mel's stats, correct? You do not know Mel's stats as it is meant to be, because she is not yet your actual pet. If you decide to take Beastmaster Ranger at level 3, then you can choose to have Mel as your actual Beastmaster pet if you want. The new alert is in, correct? Oh no! But for now she's her own thing. So you call out he calls out the third number, and you bound off to look for it, to get to it. Athletics, here goes. She's fully grown, yes, she is fully grown. All right, that is a 7 total. So we are noticing as we bound in, the first one was pretty close. The second one felt a little bit far, and we ended up landing on a purple flower to get there. This time we realise this is getting further away, and you think, I've got stubby little dwarf legs, and these footholds that were deliberately planted here to help them get around were designed for lanky elves. I don't know if I'm the best person for this. And as we're kind of athleticing across, we realise that we're going to end up landing on a bunch of flowers. Do we want to use our once per day lucky horseshoe, which we currently have? Look over there. You can see in the battle map there we've got a lucky horseshoe. Do we want to use it to re-roll that 3 plus 4? That was a 7 total. Or do we want to save it for later? That's up to you guys. I'll just gauge the chat's general idea. It's a once per day ability that we can use this lucky horseshoe to re-roll. Save the shoe. Save the shoe. Ooh, use the shoe. All right. Looks like there's a lot of different of opinion. So I'll just put it down. Horseshoe. Save it. Use it. All right, save it, use it. I'll give you 1 minute to decide. For anyone who doesn't know, the lucky horseshoe is an item that allows you to re-roll once per day. I just rolled a 3 and got a total of 7 on our last of the 3 athletics checks to see if we can get through this thing without landing on too many flowers. We realize in the last moment we're going to be failing this last one. We succeeded the first. We probably failed the second because it was a 9. We're going to be failing this last one if we don't use it. So do we want to use it? Do we want to not use it? We're only like halfway through the trials. We've got more trials to go. So if we use the shoe, we will re-roll that last athletics check. If we don't use the shoe, we will save it for another trial, which is to come. It doesn't always help, but when you've rolled a 3, there's not much. It can't be much worse. The chances of it helping with a 3 is pretty good. All right, so 79% of people say to save it, so we're going to save it. So you realise in the last moment, I'm not going to make this, and you sure enough, you step on two further purple flowers in order to get to the next one. You call it out. And he says, that will do, thank you. I've got a fairly good idea of what you're capable of now from that, so I appreciate it. Just off to the side there, and we'll continue with the next. And you say, sorry, I think I stepped on it. He goes, it's fine. I got an idea of what you're capable of. And then he continues the next one. 3, 7, 12. And he calls the next numbers out as the guy jumps through it. We step off to the side and kind of just watch anticipation of what's happening. And so after the trial, he says, so I appreciate that the spacing is used mostly for people of more our stature, and you're a little bit larger, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, we can always afford to lose a few flowers if we need to. So as a last resort, I'll keep you at the side of the field for viewing, but I might not ask you to run and jump around until it's one that you feel like you're able to get to. You might be able to assist the others in deciding which ones are blooming and help direct them to the ones that are blooming. Yeah, the elf never said step on one flower and you're dead. Like there's always room for error. They plant as many as they can so that they can maximize their yield, but there's always damage and collateral damage and these sorts of things. Scottish is always a good accent. All of the other candidates are elves, yes. They're all most of them are from Dolbyn-Iluade, the town that they are in. But there's one, Verin's there, I think. Verin's helping, and he's from the other one that I always goddamn forget. Myth. Fucking hell, where is it? Helwrin. Why do I not remember how to say bloody Helwrin? I remember Dolbyn-Iluade, but Helwrin's always eludes in my mind. Vern's coming back or already back? Oh yeah, that's right. So he said that he would leave and come back in the morning with help. So Vern's not there right now, but he's been here before. He knows how this stuff's happened. He's going to be back in the morning with help. Or at least that's what he said anyway, if they can afford any help. So the next one is about plucking of, so he's done the petals can be, the leaves can be done through the day, so you can take your time with that. You can just calmly walk through them and take the leaves. The sepals have to be very time sensitive, and as soon as they've opened, you've got like a few minutes to harvest them or they're gone. But now it's a matter of are you dexterous and nimble enough and precise enough with your hands to be able to actually pluck what is necessary, what is needed to pluck, and nothing more. So he says, there's a bit of a game over here that I'd like to play with you. It's actually adapted from a children's game that my children used to play. So you might recognise it. And he puts down almost like a plate, like a shallow bowl. And then he gets a bunch of sticks and twigs, and he just kind of plonks them into the bowl, and it makes like this tangled mess of twigs in all different directions. And he says, there's actually a bit of a game here, and he takes out a bunch of smaller, tiny little pebbles and things, and he like plonks them down on top of these sticks, and they kind of come to rest on top of them. And he says, you need to be able to pluck certain the most amount of sticks that you can from this game without dropping the marbles or the stones into the dish below. They make a nice loud clattering sound, which is why we've got the dish there. It makes it easy to see if you've failed at the game. But if you can pluck from these things, it's as close as I've found to actually manipulating the same skills in a person as actually plucking from the sepals of the flowers. So let's have a little game of Elvish Kaplunk. Yeah, have a little game, shall we? And then you step up and do your best effectively. So what we are doing here is the best out of 3 of a sleight of hand check. So we are not. You can see that sleight of hand is not one of the things that we are proficient in. So it's going to be a straight dexterity roll for us. We do not add our proficiency modifier. It's called Mikado here. Okay. I've heard it called pick up sticks or Kaplunk, or there's a similar game called There's a Yeti in My Spaghetti. I've played that one before as well. I didn't come up with an Elvish name for it. I'm sure Kerplunk with I don't know, what are they called? Sky commas. What the fuck? Apostrophes. There we are. Apostrophes and dashes and weird places and like double R and 2 L's or something. You know. Pick up sticks. Kerplunk. So sleight of hand check. Skill. Sleight. Sky commas. That's what they're called. Yeah. All right. So first one, 21. Oof. Sky commas, yeah, that's what they're called. We pluck a whole bunch of sticks, and we're doing real well. We're real proud of ourselves. We're proving ourselves very dexterous. But then it starts to get a little harder. Second round of this game. 15. It's pretty good. We're feeling pretty confident about our ability to pluck the needed flowers and petals and stamen. It's getting a little bit harder as the marbles are getting closer and closer to the plate, and there's fewer and fewer sticks holding them up. We're doing harder and harder with the last one. It makes sense that we were doing slightly worse and worse each round. All right. It's still a success, though, Ajo says, as if she's implying she knows what the DC of that check was. So we yeah, the stamen's a wee bit trickier. So we do a decent job. We think it's just water. It's water in an LMP bottle. We do a decent job. We feel like we get towards the end, and as we get to the end, we count up the number of sticks we've got. We've not got the most out of everybody there, but we've done a decent job. We've got a huge chunk of them before any of the marbles fell into the plate for us, and therefore eliminated us. The game finishes up for the last few remaining people in there, and there's one guy who is like he's really. Like, you can see that the work on his face and fingers as he's pulling against one of the, like, there's only like 4 twigs in there, but he's using the one that he's got to manipulate the others up into like a little groove and a little V shape between the two of them that are left, so that they've got support that he can then pull around and push and prod and poke, and he gets the stick out no problem, until eventually there's just 3 sticks, and all 3 sticks are in like a triangle formation, and they're holding up all the marbles, and the last 2 are like, there's no way of getting those out, and so they just grab them and whip them real quick, and they've technically got them before the marbles fall into the tray. And he's kind of like, yeah, okay, and he goes, right, he says, you are my I suppose you're my primary picker then, aren't you? Sort of laughs and claps him on the shoulder and moves on. The next one is that's the stamen, that's the petals, the general sort of flower. This is going to be a the next one is his nature check. Start around the edges to start with. We won't step on anything. We could do that if they bloomed from the outside in, but unfortunately the flowers don't do that, Sparrow. They bloom at whatever time they need to bloom. First one could be in the middle, meaning we'd have to get there exactly. So the next thing he takes us over to the chest on the table that I mentioned at the end of the last one. You see a little chest. He gets out a key and he unlocks it, and then he opens it up, and you can see there's a bunch of photographs. It's not photograph time. It's portraits, I guess, hand drawn portraits and paintings. He brings out a bunch of these things, and he says, right. The problem with the next one is once we've plucked the leaves, the stamen, and the petals, we need to be able to pluck the stamen, the remaining head of the plant, right at the right moment. You see. And that requires a little bit more expertise on the knowledge of these plants and when they are ready to be plucked. As I said before, the petals are to be plucked at the right time of night, but there's no visible clue per se. It's more of a feeling that I've developed over millennia, over centuries, not millennia. He hasn't been alive millennia. So I'm going to do my best to explain to you. I'll walk you through all of these slides to show you the different various stages of the night, very specific stages of the night. And then I'll do my best to explain it to you over the rest of the day, and then I'll be testing you on these and seeing if you can work out when it's right to pluck the petals and when it's right to pluck the heads. I think they should reorganize their work, have someone whisper spell pairs, one pointing out the flowers in the area while their partner is, and several pairs covering the fields so there's not as much movement. Yeah, it could work that way, but I mean, there's still going to be a lot of confusion between, like, that one next to you, and you're like, I'm in a field of flowers. How are you going to describe the specific one that you're pointing out to me? You'd have to also spend time on coming up with a system of, like, code words for, like, 12 o'clock, 300 feet, blah blah blah. You'd have to be able to come up with, like, narrowing it down. And at that point, is it not just easier to just, I can see it, I'm going to go to it? The implication that there isn't any gap between the rows. Yes, there's no rows left into this field, because that wouldn't maximize the potential of the power that comes from the plants. Instead, it's like they've just chosen an area to not plant 4 plants, and that's like just enough room for a foot, and then from there to the next one, So it's like horizontal rock climbing, effectively, like there's rocks just on a wall. and you've got to pick out the path through them that's going to get you to the place you need to be without landing on the plants. These ones, unlike roses, are not all varied different heights. They all grow to a relatively uniform height. A clock face, but elves, do they even have clocks? I don't know. Maybe, yeah, probably. They would have some kind of time marker, wouldn't they? I've never really thought about how time specifically works in my games. Like, I imagine it's a 24-hour day, because 24 is a nice number. In my world, 4 is a very particularly strong magical number, and so the weeks are 8 days long because it's 2 4s. Each month is 4 weeks long exactly, and so on. There are 12 months in a year because it's a multiple of 4. Lots of multiples of 4 in my world. So I imagine 24 is just makes sense. It makes the fewest issues for converting from real life to base 8. It's I would love it to be a base 8 system, but that would be much too much work. Slightly sold, thank you for the follow. Yeah, I would have converted it to a base 8 or a base 12 system if I was that way inclined, but that would take so much work on part of my like having to math out how much coins are and stuff. Like 8 silver to 8 gold to a, you know what I'm trying to say. But I did not do that. Is going to try his best to teach us about the plants by sitting down and talking. So basically, this is going to be a nature check to see if we can retain this information. Skill nature. So you can see that we are not proficient in nature, and so it's just going to be a straight intelligence roll. However, intelligence is our highest score with a +3. So even without proficiency, we're still going to be getting a +3 to it. Boop. All right, so the first one, 16. Pretty good. The first little lesson about the plants goes down well. We feel like we retain the information. We understand what he's putting down. We understand the basics of what to look for. Now it's more intricacies. There's a little bit more detail about the specifics. We understand all of the different stages now. We can definitely tell between when the petals are opening to when the petals are fully open, but there's lots of like subtle differences in between. We're doing fairly well still. After the subtleties, we're still like feeling like we're picking out, okay, yeah, I would need to look out for this and this and this, and then he shows you different pictures of them from different angles and under different lighting, in case it's an overcast night or in case it's a bright moonlit sky, in case your own shadow is over them and stuff, and he's showing you all these different photos from different angles, different lighting. We feel like we're getting a pretty good job of picking out the different flowers. With the last little bit, still pretty good, yeah. So we did very well on our little lesson, our little nature lesson there. By the end of it, we're nodding along, we're picking things out. He starts to do a little bit of a quiz for us just towards the end, and we work out, yep, we can do this. I'm pretty sure we know what we're doing for this. We know when to harvest the petals properly. Good job, Nightbot. Thank you for helping us. The last little bit is survival. The last little bit is about our ability to harvest the stem and the head and the stem without killing the plant. So without destroying the roots of the plant, but getting enough of the stem that we can still use it in potions and things. Nightbot likes plants and hates wolves. That's right. He walks you over to the last field that's set up. The last little paddock that he's set up. And you see that in there is like a bed of sand. It's laid out in sort of wood curbs, as it were, around this paddock. And in the middle, it's dug out and filled with some sand. And in the sand, standing upright, are a bunch of straight wooden sticks. He grabs a couple from the nearby and he pulls them up, and he says, and he shows that the bottom edge is coloured, the one that's dug down into the sand. It's coloured to a certain level, and it's coloured in like a gradient. And he says there's an amount of pressure that needs to be applied when you're plucking the stem, so that you get just enough of the stem out of the soil, so you're getting as much of the stem as you can. But when it becomes roots, you've gone too far, and that's you're verging on damaging the plant for the next harvest. So what we need you to do is we need you to be able to pluck these sticks to the point where they are just starting to peak peak the colour without actually being able to see the colour. And the closer you can get it, the better, effectively. And at that point, you break the stick off at that point, and then I go around and he's Scottish again. Wales, isn't he? Welsh. Boy, dragon. Oh, hello. At that point, I'll go around and I'll test out how close you got to each of the getting the sticks to the surface, and I'll be able to assess your abilities from that. This one will be a timed thing as well, because this needs to be done right before the sunrise happens, and so there's the potency of the magic within the stem goes down immediately upon sunrise striking the flowers. And so I have to snap them. I have to have a knife of some kind. He says that cutting them, I don't know enough about floristry IRL. You cut flowers on an angle, don't you? You cut the stem on an angle to promote growth within the water. I think cutting them would be fine. You can get a snippy sticks in this case. Yeah, I will say. I'll say yeah. You're allowed to cut them. You're allowed to cut them with a dagger. But that's not what he's testing. This is testing about how you can pull the stem right up before snipping it at the right point. He hands you a pair of secateurs, or elven dagger blades that are made into a snipping fashion, and you're like, oh, I think I've seen some of these in the tailor's shops. And you have a little practice with them, and then it's time to go. You got to run around and try and snip them at just the right height. So this is going to be a survival check. Skill, survival. Cutting on an angle to promote growth. Yeah, trying to snap living plants doesn't work so well in my experience. There you go then. He's going to be cutting them. Alright, so first one, 14. That's pretty good. We feel like we're doing pretty well. We haven't seen the tip of red yet. We're not sure if we're getting too close to, we don't know how close we are getting. It could be that we could have gotten further, because obviously if you can see it, you've gone too far. So you pull it as far as you are willing to see it, and then you cut it off, and then you leave it for him to walk around and see which ones you did and how well you did. He sort of follows up around us, well, like as we're walking round, he's following us round. We get a little bit off put by that. We get like a little bit nervous about him being behind us, and we start to maybe not pull up quite as high as we could have, erring on the side of caution though, I think. Not wanting to pull the colour out of the ground. We perhaps aren't getting as much of the stem as we could. And then the last one is even worse. We start to get in our head, I think. We can choose to use the, I'll put another poll here to see if we want to use the lucky horseshoe here. With that being a particularly bad one. Passed the spotting, failed the stepping. Then there was the dexterity one of the picking sticks. We passed the plucking. Then we passed the nature check. And now we're on the survival check. Yes, use it. 81% of the vote says yes, use it. So we're going to use it. Alright, so I will re-roll that last survival check, which was a, what was it? It was a 7, I think. Yeah, we got a 7 total. We're going to re-roll that with a lucky horseshoe. And get even worse. So we're going to take that 7. Sorry, lucky horseshoe. Nightbot. He did so well for so many of that today. Session today. So we thankfully with the lucky horseshoe you can re-roll and take either one. So we're going to take the 7. We're going to take the original roll. Discard the shoe. Just fling it at someone. One day it'll save our life, and then it'll be all worth it. So we get in our heads towards the end of like, oh god, witches, am I doing it too much? Am I doing it too much? You pull one just out of nerves. You kind of pull one up, and you see the red come right out, and you kind of plug it back in. But then you realize it's too late, and you just leave that one on the side, and then plug the next one, and from that point on, you're just way underestimating yourself. It did save our life. Did it already save our life? It probably has. Yeah, I don't remember. You finish the trial. He follows up behind. He says, "You're underestimating yourself. You see this. Look, this one here, for instance, you only took this much off." And he takes some of what you've got, and he says, "You've only taken this much off. Look." And then he pulls up, and he says, "This is almost as much again under there. You could have pulled much harder. Don't be afraid of. I know it's your first night doing it, but you'll get." You'll get there with time. And I do appreciate that you were erring on the side of caution rather than the other way around. I'd rather you not take as much of the stem and leave the plant alive. So, just be aware that you're taking a little less than you could be doing. But I think you did reasonably well. It will save us when we throw it at someone. Yeah, true. We got rid of a crit from a wolf bite once. So we have finished his plucking trials, and our abilities as a helper are being assessed. He sort of gets us all together and explains how we did, and cordons us off into different groups. He says, "I think you'll be good for this particular situation, and you'll be good for this part of the night. I'll need this. I'll need you guys for this and this and this." And he explains what he needs from each of you. For Apis, he tells you that he's going to need you to stand at the side of the field for Shorf during the sepal flowering phase, basically at nightfall. Throughout twilight, effectively, it takes just the length of twilight for it to actually flower. Hey, Doc Barstool, how's it going? The leaves, he'll leave you out of it for this. He will have you there for preparation and for manual labor kind of stuff. But he'll leave you out of the leaf plucking duties, because although you are very dexterous with your plucking, you're not the best at jumping between the different plants to get to them. He will have you there for helping with plucking the leaves that you can get to around the outside of the field. He'll start you with that effectively. And then he will have you during when night falls. He'll have you for your eyes, being able to see where the flowers are plucking and helping the others direct them to him. He'll leave you out of the field unless he needs you. And then it comes to the once the sepals are gone, then it's the petals. And you are particularly good at your nimble dexterity, so again you'll be plucking sepals and petals of flowers around the outsides of the fields when needed. Once the leaves, the sepals, and the petals are gone, though, it's much easier for you to pick your way through the crowds without standing on flowers. And so at that point, you were good enough that you can do that for the final stages, which is the other time specific one, which is right before morning breaks. So evening twilight and morning twilight. Mel does not have night vision, as far as you know. So for the morning twilight, there'll be enough of the flowers already harvested that we can get to the rest of the remaining Prynn. We can pick our way through, pluck the petals, pluck the stamen, and then another pass through a moment later, right before the sun comes up. Come back through and take the stems. And that's the idea. He wants us for those jobs in the morning. He wants us to be well rested. He acknowledges that we are starting to show signs of being a little bit sleepy because it's getting towards evening now, and we've been working hard pretty much all day. We had the emotionally draining morning with the mass funeral. So we had a physical morning, then we had an emotionally draining one, and now we've got an intellectually taxing / physically taxing as well for the tasks as well. So it's been a big day for us, and we're getting pretty tired. He says, if you're interested in any way, I'm the head cultivator, but I'm not quite as onto the use of these flowers as Delwa is, as the head apothecarist. He says Delwa is the head apothecarist and potion maker. He can tell you a little more about what these flowers are used for, if you like, as well as perhaps give you more idea of exactly what to do with them once we have plucked them. There are certain ways to store them that I can always test you on a little later, but I think for now you're a little tired, perhaps. So we are thanked for our help tonight. We are thanked for taking part in the trials, and thanked for our generosity in being here in the first place, just to even offer to elves that could otherwise be very xenophobic and not unwelcoming. We've just come in and offered very selflessly, and Githrin is very happy and very touched by our selflessness. So he thanks us for what we've done, and offers us. Where were we staying last night? We stayed in Delwar's house. He says, I have a spare room here that Delwar stayed in last night. I understand he offered you his house, but to save you the journey of going all the way back, I'm sure I can send him a message or so and let him know that you're staying here if you like. Of course, you can stay in Githrin's if you like. Where would you guys like to stay the night? Would you like to stay with Githrin, the cultivator that we've spent the night with the trials? Do we want to stay with Delwar, who is the head apothecarist? Or do we want to stay elsewhere? Do we want to try and sleep out in the wilderness, or what have you? Mystical Gun doesn't trust this elf. Why not? Why does that part of Apis not trust this elf? Have a sleepover with our friend. Which of our friends? Our friend the bee. We could try and sleep in the stay in Githrin's house. He sounds elfish. He is elfish. He's an elf, as is Delwar. Delwar is also an elf. You're in an elven village helping elves with their elf problems. Would we be inconveniencing anyone? No, it doesn't sound like it from what they're offering you. Delwar, let's go and stay with Delwar because he might be able to tell us more information about the flowers over breakfast. Yeah, could be. Could sleep in the wilderness with our bedroll. We do have that as well. All right, seems like we've got a bit of a toss-up. Apis is indecisive. That is one of the character traits of Apis Hive. So I will put it to poll. Where should we spend the night? Githrin. All right, with 67% of the vote, we are going to stay with Githrin. Nobody voted to go and try and stay with somebody else. Githrin's like, do you want to stay here? And you're like, nah, I'm just going to ask around anywhere else. Would have been odd, but I thought I'd give it as an option. At least they aren't the ass-face elves, that's right. He says, thank you, Githrin. That's very kind of you. I think I will take that bed if you're offering. It'll save putting Delwar out, I suppose, and it'll save the journey to back to town as well. He says, right, yes, I understand. I'll tell Delwar that you're not coming. And then he makes a, let's see. Delwar isn't within range, is he? So he sort of just gestures with his finger and points towards one of the other elves that are already leaving. They're already sort of at the top of the hill and heading back towards town. He says, which completely is silent to you. But then it's like he turns the volume back on again and he starts to speak again. Says, he won't head out this way, and he won't be surprised if you don't turn up now. So that's fine. Right this way then, and he takes you up onto the porch of his house, and he sort of opens the front door, and you see this sort of lounge, this lovely entrance hall. It's kind of this cozy cozy hunting lodge kind of feel to it. It's got this animal skin rug on the ground. There's like a very tightly packed we used to call it a phone book table, like the sort of side table that you'd put keys and things on as you walk in. It's got one of those, but it's just got like this nice potted plant on it. It's got a rack on the side for his coats and overcoats and things, and a rack underneath for his footwear. He says, "Make yourself at home. Make yourself at home." It's just in here is the lounge, and he opens up this like really thick oak door and opens it up into this really nice hunting lodge style. It's got these clawed foot armchairs, 2 of them in front of a fire that's roaring away at the moment, and a thick rug on the ground. There's some hunting trophies up on the wall, some antlered beasts, some elk, and he says you can make yourself at home in here. I also have a study over here if you have any interest in books. And he opens up the other door on the other side of this hall. And there's a very nice, warm, cozy little library nook, effectively, with just 2 walls full of elven books. Can I live with this guy? Oh, he's in cure wounds before bed. Yeah, we could do. And then he shows you around a little bit further. He shows you to the end of the hall. There is a bit of a kitchen. He walks past some stairs, some like nice. They're those stairs with the stair runner. I can't remember if they've got a name. It's like a table runner, but down the stairs, like the one that's where the carpet is just coming down. Like it's got like a half a foot of not carpeted parts on either side of the stairs. Is there a word for that? Somebody knows it, I'm sure. I'm not too good at interior decoration. It's one of those stairs that's carpeted halfway down. Is it called a stair runner? I got it right. There you go. Unless Wraith's just having me on. We decided to stay with Githrin. We walk past the stairs though to the end of the hall, and there is a cupboard under the stairs. He doesn't open or show us, but he opens the kitchen and says, "You're welcome to anything that you find in here. Any of the items of food or anything. We've got a storage box, a cooler box just underneath the back door." And he opens this back door, shows you down the steps, and kind of gestures underneath the house. There's like almost like a coal shaft kind of thing. He says, just down there's a cooler shaft down. It goes down into the basement, and we keep cold storage. There's plenty of meats down there if you wanted it. A few fish as well, dried fish and things. And he shows you inside to his pantry. You're welcome to help yourself to any foods while you're here. I'm appreciative for what you've done, and I don't mind saying that I would enjoy the company as well. I'm not sure that I would manage to maintain my work integrity if I was left to my own thoughts right now. And he closes the door. Offer to make him dinner or panpipes. That could work. Yeah, we need a hug. So he takes you back out of the kitchen. He says, "I'll just show you to your room, and then you can decide whether or not you want to sleep now or later. I hope the bed is comfortable enough for you. I only use it for a couple of hours each night, if that. I often tend to just meditate in one of the armchairs in the lounge, to be honest. I don't really use my room very often at all." He takes you up the stairs, and there's just 2 rooms up here. He shows you into one of them. It's the larger of the 2. He says, "This is the master, I suppose you'd call it. This is the room that I have." It's got this lovely looking bed. It's not a 4-poster or anything. It's nothing fancy. It's just a simple bed that's in the corner, a single bed. He says, "Sometimes I like to lie down and meditate properly, and so I use the beds. But there's a chest of drawers. There's a full-length standing mirror. There's a nice rug on the ground in here as well. A nice view over the front of the house and to the Prynn fields." And he says, "And then this one's over here. This one, you can use this one if you like. I suppose theoretically you could use either. I don't know. It feels odd to use somebody else's bed for a lot of people." And he closes the door to his own. He gestures into his. Similar looking room in the other side, but just on a smaller scale. There's no full length mirror. There's only one bookshelf and there's only one chest of drawers is what I meant. There's a dresser with like a standing mirror on top of it, but no full length mirrors. Most of the books are in Elvish. You can ask him if he's got any in common if you'd like, if that's what you want to do with your downtime. But he says, you're welcome to drop any of your gear here. I can see that you're carrying a lot of your Outlander equipment, the things that help you survive in the wilderness. I'm sure you're welcome to drop it at the foot of your bed now, or you can sleep here if you like. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm going to head downstairs now anyway. I think I could do with a little bite to eat. So what should we do now then, guys? So we've got a few different options. We've got some people saying we should cook him dinner. Some people saying we should play him the panpipes to try and take his mind off it. Some people saying we should give him a hug or try and read a book. Try and ask him if he wants to read a book. Chill by the fire, eat, relax. Is there anything we want to do with our downtime? Do we want to try and learn Elvish from him? That was something that was mentioned last week when we asked about what we should be doing. Heal ourselves, make some dinner. What do we want to do? Bit weird to use his food supplies to cook him dinner in his own home. Maybe, but it's a nice gesture. If he's going to be cooking dinner, you can say, no, you sit down and relax, I'll cook the dinner. But also don't sit down and relax, because I don't know where anything is. I'll cook dinner with your supplies. Okay, now where are your frying pans? Okay, yeah, okay, cool. Now you can go and relax. Oh, but before you go, where's your seasoning? It's in here? Okay, cool. Oh, come back again. Where's your this? Where's your that? Where's your... Panpipes and healing. I want to check his bedroom. Maybe there's clues on why his people were targeted. Maybe. In his bedroom? I wouldn't want a guest to cook in my home. That's my job, but that's my own preferences. Fair enough. Maybe cook with him and chat. Offer to make him dinner as thanks for the bed for the night. Healing for sure. Yeah, we should heal ourselves for sure, I reckon. Don't just jump straight into the kitchen. Ask him first. Let's make him booze with our brewer's kit. We do have a brewer's kit. We could potentially brew him up something if we wanted. I don't know anything about alcohol. Help me out. How long does it take to brew some booze? Can you brew booze in a night? I don't know. Somebody help me. All of these things. Just brew him up something nice. In a night? I don't know if you can do that. What's in that bottle again? Water, I swear. Takes several weeks, does it? We could start brewing him something, I guess. I feel like I should do a poll here because there's lots of different options here. Everybody's thinking of different things. So we've got 5 options. Let's go. Cook with or for him, play him the panpipes, read him a book, learn Elvish from him. Can't think of any. That'll do. That'll do, donkey. Let's just make it a simple 1-minute poll. Nice 1-minute poll. There you go. We will be doing our cure wounds if we still have a spell slot by the time we go to bed. Oh, brew. We start brewing. That should have been the 5th option. I forgot. Could distill something in a night, but not the initial brewing. Can we not do a few of them? It's getting late. We've got enough time to, like, maybe we can play the panpipes as we eat, after we've eaten or something. I think the dinner because it's seconded. Play some music, because likewise, and then talk. Magic breweries. Magic breweries probably exist where they can magic up some brew in double time or whatever, but it would be more likely to be like magic items. A magic barrel that distills things in half the time or something. I don't know. Playing the panpipes. Alright, that came out. Eked in front of cook with him and learn Elvish from him. Alright, so we are going to, we feel it's more important to play the panpipes than we do to make him some food. So if it's a tie, we add in brewing as a 3rd option. Yeah, fair enough. So while he decides to cook dinner, we have to cook dinner, but we also realise we're probably going to be more hindrance than help. And he did say that he did specifically say that he wanted the distraction. He doesn't want to think about the family yet, because it'll distract him from his harvesting work tomorrow. So we think, you know what, let's let him handle the cooking. He knows where everything is. He knows what food he's got. He knows what items he uses to cook with. But we will play in the panpipes as he cooks to see if we can do a good job of that. We are proficient in panpipes, as we can see over there. So we're going to make a performance check. We're not proficient in performance, so we just add our panpipes proficiency to our charisma check. So it's basically a +3. Tell you what I'll just do. I'll just do roll d20. Exclamation mark roll, and it'll be d20 +3 because it's +1 for our charisma, +2 more for our. It turns out I didn't ask Fancy for panpipes because I didn't anticipate it coming up too often. I guess forgot about it. So performance check, and also sometimes it's like you manipulate it around a bit. Most often when you're playing the panpipes, it's going to be a charisma based one, but sometimes you might change it up. If you're trying to think of a new song, maybe it's if you're trying to remember the tune to a song, it might be an intelligence based panpipes. If you're trying to just jam a new one right off the top of your head, that might be a wisdom based panpipes. I don't know. If you're trying for a particularly difficult and fast-moving piece, where you, what am I doing? That's not, you don't do that with, it's like this one, isn't it? If you're doing a fast-moving panpipe one where you've got lots of different notes to hit, it might be a dexterity-based one. All right, so let's see. Roll d20 +3. Pow! A 9. Total 9. It's below average. Like really below average for us. Slightly below average for a regular person. Maybe that's just because of how he takes it. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe dwarven panpipe music is not up to the same sort of standards as beautiful elvish panpipe music. Epis keeps splitting notes. Yeah, it's not the greatest. It's not bad. It's not bad to listen to. It's just like not to his taste, perhaps. But he's polite enough to not really mention it. Let's actually supplemental. I'm going to make an insight check to see if we realize how to play a wind instrument with busted ribs. Good point, Sparrow. Yes. I'm going to make an insight check to see if we work out if we can tell that he's not enjoying it. A 10 total. We don't really pick up on the fact that he's not super enjoying it either. He's not. I think he's enjoying your company more than he's disliking the panpipes. So it's just something he's like, yeah, it's fine. I'm not going to applaud him, not going to sing his skills from the rafters, but he's doing fine. If I was sad and someone played panpipes at me, they'd be pulling them out from somewhere unsavory. He appreciates that you're making an effort and distracting him. Ditch the pipes and just chat. Yeah, so what the hell was I saying? So yeah, he makes the dinner. We finish our panpipes. We put them away. We eat the dinner and chat a little bit over that, just about the day. Is there anything that in particular that you guys want to hear from him over dinner as you're chatting? You're starting to get tired. You realise that you're going to be going to bed pretty much straight after eating. So you've got just general chit chat over dinner in order to learn anything or talk to him about anything in particular if you want to. Learn the elven words for the flower things. Yeah, sure. He talks to you about the flowers. He teaches you some elven words for the flowers. Just the different flower parts. He teaches you the elvish words for the different parts, the different botanical parts of a flower. Let me pull up my elvish. Let me pull up my elvish notes. All my notes on elvish. I've gone into an entire language of elves. I've done a J.R.R. Tolkien, and I've come up with entire languages of elves. He says that the stem of the flower is called the corsin, and he says that the petals of a flower are called a petal, and the sepal of the flower is called the sepal, apparently. The leaves of the flower are called the dale. There you go. Elvish. What else is there? Stamen. What's the stamen of a flower? Apparently stamen. Come on, Welsh, get some better words. How about mirigerin? Mirigerin is also Stamen apparently, or maybe even Brigerin or Frigerin are also all Stamen. Don't know what the different contexts. Roots. The roots are bloody hell. Guiradiao. Apis, I think, struggles with that one because Robert struggles with that one. Guiradiao. There you go. Elvish is easy. Easy peasy, look. I suspect Googling. What are you talking about? What? I'm hurt. Hurt that you would even suggest that I would Google these words in an English to Welsh translator on Google. Imagining JRR struggling to read his own language gives me so much joy. Yeah. Elvish language is Welsh, that's correct. Yeah. Elvish in my world is based on Welsh, because then it gives me consistency when I'm naming things. I usually take the Welsh, I change a couple of the letters, mix it around a bit. Boom, Elvish. Next morning comes. The evening finishes. We've finished talking to this guy about Elvish words for things. We talked to him a little bit about the history of Prynn farming. He doesn't really get in too much detail. He just explains that he's been doing it for all of his life, and he's he doesn't give you an exact age, and nor do you ask, because it would probably be a little bit rude, and we are above average on charisma, so we would be smart enough to know that it would be rude to ask for a specific age to someone we've barely met. But he says that he alludes to the fact that he's been Prynn farming for over 300 years. We ask him how he got into it, and he says that his family were always Prynn farmers, and that he inherited these fields when his parents moved away. Then he cleans up the dinner dishes. We help him to wash the dishes and dry them, put them away and whatnot, and then we head to bed. We are falling asleep while he is showing no signs of tiring, being that he's an elf and doesn't sleep. We leave him reading a book in the lounge in one of the clawfoot armchairs in front of the fire when we head up to the room. And as we strip off our leather armor and whatnot, we see a large bruise starting to emerge from the ribs again. We've healed them once and the bruise went away, but we realise that it's still going to keep coming back wherever the ribs are injured. So we rub them. We rub our hand over them, and as we rub, we feel our hand getting warmer and warmer, as per the blessings of both Flonenshale and Altamez, the two gods that we have interacted with directly through our spellcasting. And we feel the warmth seep down into the intercostals and into the bones themselves, and we feel the pain of the bruising go away. And we look down, and sure enough, we see that the bruises themselves have receded again, and we feel the bones are starting to stitch back together. They're starting to do their thing. And then we lie down to sleep, and we dream of another time. We dream of other things. We dream of adventures gone by. Heal our wounds, correct. Yep, we did that. Slap Githrin's hands away from the washing up. That's our job. Yeah, we helped that. We interact with gods in a very indirect way, Mystical Gun. Yes, we were granted spellcasting through a prophetic dream that we had, and the first time that we used each of those spells, we felt like we were communicating, or like hearing a message from the gods. There are a lot of gods in this world. Flonenshale is the god of healing, or a god of healing, and Altamez is a god of hunting. And being that we are a ranger and we have Cure Wounds as one of our spells, we can heal and hunt very well. And so we felt like we were getting messages from our gods that were blessing us. No particular prophetic dreams. We dream about a bunch of different things. Apis as individual synapses of Apis's mind. Each of you can choose whatever you think Apis would be dreaming about at certain times during the night, but nothing prophetic. No level ups yet. You feel like maybe if you finish this particular elven arc with these villagers. Perhaps if you help them with tonight's harvest, then potentially you've earned enough experience and milestones to level up at that point. Hint, hint. We should stay awake a little bit longer, sleep through the day, so we have enough energy for tonight. Good question. Good thinking, Mystical Gun. We have to harvest during the day. Only the leaves. So the leaves are during the day. The sepals are at nightfall. The petals are during the night. It's a difficult to determine time, but we feel like we did very well on our nature checks, so we'll be able to determine what time. And then the heads are sort of as morning twilight begins, and then the stem is like right before morning light. The morning comes. We are well rested. We are back up to full hit points. We are back up to everything that we lost, which means that our lucky horseshoe has replenished as well. Is there anything else? Our health is back up to full. We hadn't taken any hit points. We wake up feeling pretty well rested. We sort of give a stretch and there's a twinge in the side again. Oh yeah, that's right, I've got broken ribs. Forgot about that. But we kind of do a little self reflection. We press and prod and poke, and yeah, actually it feels like they're pretty good. Yeah, it feels like they're pretty good. You kind of stretch a little, and oh yeah, you can. When you stretch, you really feel it kind of twinge. But otherwise they're pretty good. You look down, there's the faintest bruise between that's kind of like highlighting one particular rib that you're like, oh yeah, I think that one's the one that's still broken. Then seems like we're getting pretty good. But you feel like you're pretty good. Do you want to use a cure wounds on this rib or not? Because you'll be down. The downside is you'll be down one spell slot for the day. You don't know what the day holds, obviously, but you'll be down a spell slot for the day. The upside is you'll be in better tip-top shape for today and tonight's harvesting. So what do you guys think? Should we do it or not? Need to be at our best. We should use the cure spell. Yes, we should. If we take the day easy, save it for tonight, we'll have okay for the harvest. Yep. True. Rogue says yes. Elziel says hold off. Our ribs are pretty great. They are pretty great, but they're not fully fixed yet. We can leave it there and just let them heal naturally from here, but it'll take another however long ribs take to fix. Hey, Miss Bowman. Just as I'm asking a medical question, you're here. Katrina's here as well. How long does a broken rib usually take to heal itself IRL? I know there's a lot of other factors, I'm sure, but as a general rule of thumb, give me a ballpark figure. If I was to break my ribs, how long would I be looking at rehabilitating them? We should cure our ribs before the harvest so no injuries happen during that. Yes. 2 to 3 weeks, maybe more. 6 months, says Mystical Gun. So yeah, if we can fix them in a couple of days with cure wounds, rather than a few weeks. If we left them at this point to heal from this point, the way that I heal about 3 years, and they'd end up looking like that, just poking out of my body at various angles. Can we cast Cure Wounds twice? We can, yes. We've got 2 spell slots per day. So we can cast any spells that we know up to twice per day. 1 day. Yeah, medical knowledge is way off. I know medicals. I know medicine and stuff. I know medicine and stuff. About 6 weeks, depending on how much of an idiot you are about it. Yeah, same with the fingers too. Do we need the other spell for Zephyr? I don't know. Save the cure for tonight before we have to work. Alright, well, there's enough dissent that we're going to need to know. We're going to need to poll it. We're going to need to poll it out because we're... use Cure Wounds now. If we don't use it now, we can always use it again right before we start doing the harvest, later on in the day. But it just doesn't immediately capitalize on our being well rested and having our ribs in tip-top shape for the day. So do we use our cure wounds on ourselves or not? The poll is currently in favour of yes, use it right now. So if you want to get your vote in, make sure you vote. You've got a few seconds left to vote no if you want to. Yes, alright, so yes, we are going to use it right now. So we have a little think. We sort of weigh up the pros and cons. Apis lies in bed and thinks, do we use it, do we not? Do I know what's going to be for the day? But ultimately, they think, you know what? I need to be on my best performance for today. I want to be there for the elves of this village. They've been very kind to me. I need to be on my tip-top shape. Yeah, I'll do it, and I'll just hope for the best. So again, it's reminiscent of last night. We give it a good old rub down, and we feel the warmth radiate from our hands into our body. And when we pull our hand away, the bruise is gone, and we stretch. It's gone. Yep, we stretch. We stretch both ways. We turn, we twist, we pull ourselves. We grab a hold of the door frame and really pull. It's gone. Yeah, no pain at all. We are back to tip-top shape. This is there's no sign of the break at all, as far as we can tell. We are a-okay, 100%. Our ribs are back to normal, and that's the power of magic. Cutting down on a 6 week 6 weeks healing process to 3 sessions of cure wounds and another session of salves, effectively. Still, don't overdo it today. No, I mean, never overdo it. That's why it's called overdoing it. The morning comes. You've healed yourself up. You head downstairs. You find that Delwar is already there, and is helping with Githrin. They're talking to each other in Elvish in their lounge. As you walk in, they're speaking to each other from the 2 different armchairs. First time one party's got a majority. Yeah, man, it's been a while. If you voted her out, we were stealing her. We were going to come over and kidnap her, take her to our place. They're speaking to each other in Elvish as you enter, and they both turn and say, "Oh, good morning. I hope we didn't wake you. We were getting a little bit. What's the word in common? We were getting a little bit vocal, a little bit loud. Hopefully you're okay. No problem. You didn't wake me. I was just doing my stretches and things, my morning. I'm ready to tackle the day whenever you're available. If you when do we start on this these leaves things?" And he goes, "I like your eager attitude, but it's fine. You're not okay. You're not needed just yet. I'll gather you when I need you. Is there anything I can do for you this morning? Would you like a breakfast or something you like to eat when you wake?" So what do we want to do with our morning? Apparently we're not going to be needed until around noon. So what do you reckon we do with our downtime in the morning on such a day? We could try and find someone to teach us Elvish with some downtime. There's a pretty good chance that the town that pretty much revolves around the harvesting of Prynn flowers is going to all be pretty much busy on today. So I don't think we'll be able to find time to find anyone to teach us any Elvish this morning, but we can certainly try if we want. Have some breakfast, practice the panpipes. We could practice the panpipes, yeah. I mean, if you like, that's a legitimate thing we could actually do, Gus. I know you were kind of joking, but if we wanted to practice panpipes with our downtime, we can train towards having expertise in it, which would mean you add 4 to your modifier instead of 2. So we would do a panpipe check and add 5, because it's a charisma plus twice our proficiency level. And at this level, our proficiency is 2. So we could train towards having expertise in panpipes, and then we're almost always guaranteed a good performance out of them. Breakfast, and then maybe if he has Elvish Common to Dictionary, some books in common we could read for the morning. Yeah, could do. Could have some breakfast. Having some breakfast, yeah, gonna say offer to make food and ask about the Elvish names for different things that you cook. Sure. We are food people, give us breakfast. It seems like it. Every one of Apis's synapses is in conjunction for this morning. get the food. All right. So we'll get some breakfast. We offer to make the breakfast, and let's make a persuasion roll to see how persuasive we are about the breakfast. We're mildly persuasive about it. We're like, you know what? No. We don't take no for an answer, and we say, I'll do it. I was watching you cook last night. I know where you keep your food. I know where you keep your pots and pans and things. I can cook you breakfast if you want it, if you're hungry. And he says, yes, actually, we were just talking about how we need to eat before we head out. We're a little bit busy, but yes, I will accept graciously. You will be saving me some time having to cook if you do the cooking. Just so you know, Delois is vegetarian, so anything you cook, just make sure that it's edible for both. Right, yeah, I'll get on that right now. So good question, Mystical Gun. We haven't actually asked about what the magic of a Prynn flower is. We just know that they are used in healing salves and potions. That's all that we have picked up from context. We haven't yet actually had any sort of breakdown as to what they do. So we go off and make them garlic and fish, nom nom nom. Garlic and potatoes, nom nom nom. We put together the breakfast. Let's have a little cooking check. So we are not proficient in cooking tools, cooking utensils. That is actually a tool that you can take proficiency in. But instead we took brewer's tools and panpipes. So we are going to... Don't make us bad assistants by mixing up meat into the vegetarian's food. Yeah. Garlic potatoes does sound nice. All right, let's do a skill check. It's going to be a cooking utensils tools. It's going to be... somewhat intelligent. I'm going to make it an intelligence-based one because it's about using the ingredients that we have at hand and coming up with something delicious for breakfast using that. So it's intelligence-based cooking utensils tools, and we don't have cooking utensils proficiency, so it's just straight intelligence. Boop. Like so. Ooh, that's a hard breakfast. Oh boy. Oh no, it wasn't a nat one. It could have been worse. It could have been one worse than it was. But that is not a good breakfast. Yeah, should we horse shoe? Should we horse shoe immediately on the day of the Prynn flower harvest? Should we horse shoe? All right. So just for breakfast, yeah. So we start cooking this breakfast up. The two of them start talking. Then Mel appears at the back door and is like, "Good morning, Apis. It's good to see you. Did you sleep well?" "Yeah, slept very well, thank you." Mel, how did you sleep? Were you out in the fields?
Yes, it was very beautiful sleep. I had visions of interesting that you called it sleep. Yes, I had some more of those last night. Did not feel the same, but it was beautiful. It was just kind of calming. I think it was the Prynn flowers that were invading my mind. It was beautiful. I was sleeping around, not in the flowers, but nearby, and it was nice. Oh yeah, so what was your... And you take interest in her having dreams again, and wonder if it was prophetic, and you start to ask her about that. And that's nice. But it wasn't like... It didn't feel like the same one where you were like learning new things. You didn't feel more powerful when you woke. No, I did not feel... What is that smell? Oh shit! Oh shit!
You turn around and you... Oh shit! Oh crap! That's burnt. Ah shit! Githran, sorry. Should we sleight of hand to scrape the failure into the bin? We could do, yeah. What do you guys think? Should we sneakily throw it out and try again, or should we try and sense constitution checks? What do you think? Should we try and get rid and should we own up to it? Let's try. All right, let's try. We're gonna start sleight of hand, try and get rid of it. So this is I think it's an all-round stealth. It's more of a stealth check than a sleight of hand because you're trying to dispose of it in a way that the smell of burning food doesn't permeate the house as well. All right, so stealth check, 17 plus 4, 21. use Mel. We're like, come in for a second, and she comes in and starts making noise so that to cover up for the clanging of the. You hear a voice. Is that what's that noise? It's just my friend Mel. It's just a bee. It's nothing to worry about. You go back to what you're doing, and you convince him to go back. And Mel's sounds of flying covers over the sounds of your terrible breakfast. You scrape out the stuff into like a bucket, and then you take the bucket outside and chuck it into a nearby bush, and then come back down again. Yeah, your kitchen survived the ogre, but burnt down in my cooking. All right, so we go back in, and we're going to try again. All right. Thankfully, they haven't noticed that we terrifyingly destroyed that breakfast. What did I make it? I made it an intelligence check. Next time is much better. We refuse to get distracted by Mel appearing and talking to her, and so we focus on the thing and avoid conflict. Yeah, that's right. So we use as much as we need, and then we realize I've used up double the resources for this. I think I'll go hungry, and I'll just say that I've eaten mine already, because then it makes sense as to being like, why did the food come out later than usual, and also with more portions needed. So Apis decides, like, I'll just avoid I'll just eat some of my rations today. So we walk through and we serve them theirs. And did you not? Oh yeah, sorry. I was so famished. I ate as I was going. That's why it took a little longer. I'm sorry. I ate as I was going, but I'm full now. Thank you. Yeah, that's my full stomach rumbling away. I'm gonna head out with Mel to do a little trip of the Prynn flowers to just to get grips of what I'll be dealing with later. I'll be back before noon. He says, "Great, right you are then. Good day." I'm gonna need a deception check to see how well we pulled that off. Yeah, I'm definitely full now. Yeah, that's me. That's my full sounds. Walk out. And the two of them just look at you confused, like, clearly, well, I don't know why Apis doesn't want to eat our food, but whatever. They've obviously got a reason for themselves. I don't know. They just turn back and finish their conversation while they're eating. We head outside and we eat one of our rations. We help ourselves to our day's rations. Do I have rations written on here somewhere? I thought I did. Do I not have rations in my... Oh, that's weird. Like, all of this inventory stuff, and I don't even have rations there. It rumbles the word, feed me. Feed me. I'm so hungry. The sound of a stomach gurgle is called boborigmi. Boborigmi. Huh. Boborigmi. I get boborigmi quite often. My stomach's always talking to me. At least did they eat it and not get all cautious with us being sus. They definitely ate it. They didn't have a reason to think that we were poisoning them. But they ate it and then just thought that we were fasting maybe, or we had an eating disorder and didn't want to talk about it, or for some reason they just thought that they knew we were lying, but they didn't know why. Alright. Where were we? Go to the local tavern and eat. There's no local tavern. It's too tiny a town for having a tavern, really. Eat bread and some honey mel. Some honey mel producers. Maybe. Bread and honey. Because I always skip meals. Yeah, I know. Alright, so we finish a ration instead to have it. We finish our rations, we go for a walk with Mel, we walk and talk. There's nothing new to really glean mechanics-wise. We don't learn anything new about the world or anything through Mel, but we enjoy talking to Mel and and just catching up with her. It's been we haven't really spent a lot of time with her in the last day. Then Mel, she talks back. There's nothing else to talk about unless you guys have anything that you wish to ask Mel or talk about with Mel. Does Apis's mind ping with anything that Apis wants to talk about? Mystical Gun wants to ask Mel something. Does she need breakfast? What do bees even eat? They eat nectar, and then use the pollen. Pollen just sticks to them passively to pollinate the flowers, but they eat the nectar, and then they turn the nectar into like a bee vomit, which they then use as honey, right? And then they eat the honey to feed the kids. So I don't know how bees work. Something like that, isn't it? I don't know. What do bees actually eat? Just nectar? Does she need breakfast? No, she's eaten nectar from flowers, I guess, in the area. She's in a forest. She's in a wood elf forest, so she can definitely find enough flowers to eat nectar from, I guess. Point out that yes, so Mystical Gun. So as we walk and talk with Mel, we're walking around the Prynn flowers and we're pointing out all the things that we learnt about them yesterday. And Mel says,
"Yes, I would be happy to help you. That I was flying over them this morning, and they smell so beautiful, and I can actually pinpoint which ones are about to bloom before they bloom because of my scent. I don't really see in the same ways as you do, I don't think, but I don't really see, but I can smell. I get this on sort of scent map of the area, and I can tell from that which ones are about to bloom. And so she is going to help us with it, and she'll give us advantage on the perception checks needed for picking them out effectively. Her wings are back to tip-top as well. She didn't have quite as much damage to her wing as we did to our ribs, and so a single cure wounds was enough to fix her. She's all fixed up. Do we make up signals to communicate in stealth situations? Oh, we could do that. Yeah, we've got a whole morning with her, so maybe we do that. She got badly wounded, killing off the last of the goblins. She's doing all right now, but she's like slowly healing. Nah, she's had a day now. She's back to tip-top. When harvesting honey, you need to leave enough for the bees not to starve. So they do actually use the honey as the food source for themselves. Yeah, bees can't instead of thieves can't. All right, so let's. I said one of her legs had almost sliced off. Yeah, I'm totally not going back on things that I definitely remember saying last time. She's fine. We cure wounds to her, didn't we? And didn't and for all we know, Delwa was helping her with some things as well. Delwa's been helping her with stuff. She's fine. So I'm gonna make an intelligence-based animal handling check. So what that means, it also said last time that her leg was okay. So there you go. Boom. Consistency. Intelligence-based animal handling check, because we're coming up with a new language, effectively, a new sign language that we can use with Mel, and I'm going to see how well we do. This is not just a one-and-done thing. It's not like I roll really well here and we've suddenly got a sign language. It's going to be a work in progress. We're going to be working on it together. What's it going to be? I'm just going to put animal handling, but animal handling will come up as a wisdom-based one. So it'll say the number +4. But because it's an intelligence-based, it's actually +5. So whatever it rolls, +1. So we got a nat 20 +4 +1. So we've actually got a nat 20 +5. That's a 25. So we are not good at breakfast. We are good at coming up with a language to talk to Melon, apparently. All right. So we make we come up with a very complicated language, and we've got the syntax down. We've got everything learnt. Apis and Mel can completely communicate in any circumstance under any situation with a nat 20. Boom. No, not quite, but we do have a very solid basis. We've got a very solid basis for a system that can work. It's basically a type of sign language, and we've come up with maybe
half a dozen signs that we're both familiar with, signs that we are both capable of doing, that basically they don't use complicated fingers. They just use like arm direction and stuff, so that Mel can do the same with her legs, her front legs. She can put them in different directions and things, and we can learn from those simple things like I need you to stop, attack, be careful, I don't know, whatever we need. When we need them, we realize we can allocate them at that point and say, like, these are the ones that we have talked about before. Semaphore. What are you saying that for, Mary G? What are we talking about? Be careful. Be aggressive. Be safe. Be quiet. We've done very well with that. We spend the morning doing that. We get back to the hut. Once around the big field, we make our way back to the hut just as he's coming out, and he says, "Right, I think it's time for getting the leaves, don't you?" He walks over to the front one. He gets down on his knees and he smells it, and he looks at the next one. And he looks across the field, and then he plucks one of the leaves and licks the stem real quick from not the stem, the part of the leaf that was cut. Yeah, it's time. And he crumples up the leaf that he had in his hand that he's just plucked, and just starts chewing on it, and he says, "Right, time's now!" And he calls out to the dozen or so helpers that he's got around this thing, and he says, "Let's pluck those leaves." And around you, you've each been given a sash kind of thing with a large satchel on the side of it that you can pluck the leaves and put them into. This is not a good time for that mystical gun. No, they're all much too busy to stand and talk to you at the moment, so you're going to be all rushing around this field as quickly as you can, plucking these leaves. So with advantage, because of our successful training yesterday, we are going to be making sleight of hand checks. Sleight of hand to pluck the leaves well. When is our other friend coming back with help? Good question, Nicole. You do look around seeing this, and you see that Verin is there. Verin, and that's why there's like a dozen people here when there were only like half a dozen came for the training yesterday. There's like a dozen others because there's now like 3 or 4 have been brought back with with Verin, and they are all helping as well. So with advantage, that is not good, but with advantage, we get to roll that again. Better, yeah, 15. Roll for each part. One skill challenge roll for each stage of the process. So we head around the sides of the field at first, knowing that we can't really pluck our way through pluck our way through the fields. So we pluck at the leaves until we've got a big bag, and then we head back to the cottage and we exchange it for an empty bag. Continue around. We've got several bags full by sort of mid-afternoon, and the field has gone from this beautiful field of hot pink. The hot pink comes in the morning, and then it opens up, and as it opens up, it goes through pink into white. So the bulbs are all just hot pink this morning, but just flush with a deep green underneath it. And at the end of that, you can see a lot more brown poking through as well from the areas of this field that have just had these leaves decimated. More than decimated. I hate that word. I can never use it for the word that I want to use it for, because I always am too bloody pedantic for my own mind about it. I'm like, I can't use it because that's not what decimated means. I just wish I didn't know what decimated means, because then I'd use it in the way that everybody wants to use it, and not the way that's like actually what it means. So by the end of the late afternoon, early evening, it's a field of stalks and flowers only, and no leaves at all. So we succeeded on the the leaves. We've got a couple of hours maybe to kill before the the nightfall, before twilight begins, and so we stop for lunch. We stop for a late lunch. So we have lunch. Somebody else cooks for us, thankfully. And we talk to Delwar over the. We talk to Delwar about the specifics of what the leaves are for. Delwar explains that the leaves are the primary ingredient in the salves that he's been using, not potions or bases for potions, but these are the specific ingredients for the salves. So now he's got a lot of ways of. He's got a lot of ways to create more of this salve that he's been using to heal things with, to heal long-running injuries and things like your ribs and stuff like that. So we have our lunch. We prepare for the next stage, the more time-sensitive stage. As soon as the sun sets, it's on. The flowers begin to open. And so we get ourselves into a position where we, at the edge of the field, we thank ourselves, we thank our genetics for giving us dark vision, and we get ourselves ready. We're in the space, we're in the zone. We've got Mel. Mel's flying over the thing. The sun's going down in the west, and it's just poked beneath the tree line now. So it's beneath the canopy, but it's not over the horizon yet. Even though we can't see the horizon, we can see the sun is still peeking through the trees. So we are ready. Some of the flowers start to open already. The flowers have been tricked into thinking it was night before it actually is. So those ones are the early adopters, and we start to point those out to people. We're going to need, with advantage, a skill check on our perception. We actually have Mel's help as well, so advantage because of our training. We succeeded on 2 of the 3 tasks, but double advantage effectively because of Mel. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to say it's advantage plus 3. So perception check. Hey, that's already that's already a 23. See if we can get even higher. Alright, so it's not going to get higher than 23, but that's a 25 rather, not 23. 25, alright. So with the 25, we have got this. We are in the zone. We are ready. Our ribs are feeling perfect. We've got Mel's help. We've had a delicious lunch, late lunch. We're feeling well rested. We spot all the flowers. We spot them as they go. Boom, they're pinging off. It becomes like a little dance to us. They're over there, they're over here, they're over there. Mel is speaking, shouting commands to us. She's given us these new commands as well to help with us absolutely nailing the command thing as well. We've worked out a real, as in Mel, we're in a real drive. We're in the zone. We're not thinking about it. And we are pointing them out to the people who can get to them, and we're doing very well with our descriptive nature as to where they're going, and so we're really helping them get to the plants in time. Ourselves, we're also seeing the ones that are pinging nearby the edge of the field, so that we can get to those ones, and we can start to pluck the sepals from them. It's an interpretive dance. That's right, Rogue. We're feeling really into it. We have helped a lot with that. That means that they get to, they have advantage on their checks to actually get to them and do their things. So where are my dice? I need to roll for the people who are actually doing the plucking right now to see if they're doing well. Yeah, they're going to ask us back every month. They just need to train us in how to jump around the fields without crushing flowers, and then we'd be unstoppable. Alright, I need to roll sort of behind the DM screen, as it were, to see how the people who are actually plucking the flowers are doing. Let's not use this big boy that was rolling really badly for me on my 24-hour stream. Let's use my favourite dice. There it is. Boom. No, you're the imposter that looks like my favourite. You're my favourite. There you are. Alright. And with advantage because of our help. Nice. All right. They do a very good job. I rolled a 19 plus their modifier would be significant. There was only one more that they could have rolled. So with advantage of your helping them, boom, 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 they got a 13 and then a 19 with advantage. So your advantage actually did help them as well. We've harvested the leaves. We've harvested the sepals. We now need the petals. The petals come at a particular time of night. We did very well on the nature checks for those. And so with advantage, because of yesterday's ability, we are going to look for a nature check. Obviously, we also have the help from the guy who's literally meant to be there. So with advantage, that was an 8, or what was the first one? An 18. All right. Hey, we're doing pretty good. An 18. So with an 18, we are in the times that that Githrin is not near enough to us to like point out the ones that are flowering, because he can't be everywhere at once. He's helping for sure, but he's helping a whole bunch of people all at once. He is helping us every so often, but then he disappears, and we have to rely on our own abilities from looking at the things that we went through yesterday. Thankfully, we did really well, and we do really well again tonight, making sure that we know when the flowers are ready to have their petals plucked. As they've all opened up now, there's very faint pink among them, but for the most part it's brilliant white and it is shining. What sort of moon is it tonight? Let me roll for this. What would I roll for? Okay, so less than that and it's cloudy. It's a clear night. It's a clear night, so they are particularly bright. They are bouncing the light off of them. Which means that even people without dark vision would be pretty okay in this field at the moment. But with our dark vision, we can see even better. And not only that, but the petals are going to be a little bit more potent tonight because of the moon. That's the petals done. The petals are picked. Now it is the waiting game. You spend the night. You have a little bit of a snooze at various points once the petals are done. It's taken a few hours. You are feeling a little bit tired. You've started to stay up the night. You have a little power nap because you know that it's the next thing doesn't come until the stamen needs plucking, the stamen and the rest of the head. You know that you've got a couple of hours before the morning twilight, so you catch a few Z's, and then you are woken up by a pat on the shoulder as Githrin says, "Hey," he says, no, he doesn't say in Scottish. He says, "Hey, I need you. I need you soon. You okay to carry on? You don't have to if you're feeling too." No, I'm fine. You're up and at 'em. Yeah. Right, let's do this. What are we doing now? It's the heads, right? That's right. Okay. I'm watching. Here we go. This one was so we did the sleight of hand check. The sleight of hand kind of was all of them, right? Wasn't it? So we'll cut to the chase. We'll do the stamen and the stem all as one survival check. This is the one. Oh yes, thank you, Rafe. This is the one that you were going to help in the field with. You're actually jumping around. So now I'm going to need a dexterity-based athletics check. We did not do particularly good at this one, so we did not gain ourselves advantage through the practice. So this is just going to be a straight roll of the athletics check. But because athletics is normally strength-based and we've got one more in dex than we do in strength, we get to roll this and add 1. And we do not have advantage. So if we roll poorly on this, we're going to start crushing some flowers, and we might want to use that once per day ability, which technically should have come back, I suppose, because I don't know when it refreshes. Probably in the morning, right? It would refresh at the end of a long rest. Projecting his own fatigue onto Apis. Yeah, it's good that Apis is tired because I can act it out real well. All right, here we go. Skill, athletics, boom. An 18. 18's pretty good. We feel pretty nimble. We've had that power nap. We feel refreshed. We are ready to go. Bam. We pick the ones out. We athletics over to them. We've plucked the heads. We are on a roll as well. We jump from one to the next. Swipe the head off. Next one. Swipe the heads as we go. And we've managed to harvest a decent chunk. These have been some real good rolls. We've harvested a decent amount of decent amount of these flowers. The next thing and the last thing is the survival check to see how far of this stem we can do, and we failed this one as well, so we do not have advantage on this because we're doubting ourselves. We had our practice, but it made us just as nervous as we were before. I was just typing the word practice because I said the word practice. Skill survival. So as we do this, we're getting through it pretty quick. With an 18 athletics check, we are done in record time. We look over to the east and we see that there's light starting to emerge from the trees, and we realize morning light's here. We need to get those stems up. We get to move. We need to move. So our final check of the night, skill survival check. Here we go. It's not advantage. It's just straight roll. So if we screw it up, we might want to horseshoe. That is a screw up. That is a definitive screw up. We are about to sort of fucking lie down and roll through these flower beds because that is a 1+4. So I don't think I need to put it to a vote. I assume that most of you want to horseshoe that because you literally can't get worse than a net 1. So I am going to make the definitive guess that most of you want a horseshoe. Hey, don't kick Nightbot. He's been doing really well for us for the most part. He's got to regress to the mean at some point. We get it back in the morning as well, and the morning's literally coming over the horizon, so why the hell not? Skill survival. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Zaza. Better, much better. 18. Okay, boom. Our lucky horseshoe comes through for us. As we turn around, we see the light coming up, and we think, "Oh shit!" And we just out with haste and adrenaline, we reach down to just like start smashing, and we realize, oh, whoa, actually no, I can't, got to take this calmly. And luckily, the god of luck appears to us in that moment and stops us from just like, oh shit, and going at it from a place of panic, and instead we come at it from a place of confidence, and we start moving our way through the fields, cutting and moving as we go. And we feel by the end of it, we've done a very good job. We are on fire, and we feel like, goddamn, we know we know how this works. We could do this every month. We're slowly becoming a real hive. Yeah, you guys are doing great. We return with another bag, our bag full of flower stems this time, and we hand this over. And in the morning, we will be able to talk to Delois and potentially learn from Delois like what he does with these stems and what he does with all of these individual flower elements. But for now, we are exhausted. We have a level of exhaustion that comes on just as the sun starts to rise because we have stayed up all night. So we have a level of exhaustion, and we are knackered. We need to sleep, and we need to just let these guys do what they need to do, and we can learn more about Elvish. We can learn more about the Prynn flowers. We can learn more about the healing process and the salve process and the apothecary process and things once we've had a long rest. That's where we're going to leave it, guys. We are going to have a long rest. We are going to have a prophetic long rest because you guys are going to level up to level 3.